Hey comrades, this is Rabblecat, and today I want to talk about motherfucking Joe Biden, who is now currently the president-elect of the United States of America. Now, what does that really mean for the left? Unfortunately, not much. Not much at all. Obviously, people have been trying to say, oh, hey, let's vote for Joe Biden. Let's get him in there, and then we'll push him left. Or maybe, just trying to make the more general argument that, like, a Biden administration would be either more sympathetic to the left, or it would just be generally better for the left than a Trump administration. I generally tend to think that that's true, and that's one reason why I voted for Joe Biden, even in a deep red state. And I did it just to, be a part of the game, even though I don't really like the game, and I don't like Joe Biden. But when you look at voting in the United States, it's not like when it comes down to the presidential election in particular, you're not necessarily like voting for a person. It's usually you're voting for an administration, you're voting against the other administration or the other candidate. And this is just kind of part of the problem with first past the post voting, and none of us, I don't like it, and if you're on the left, I would presume that you don't like it either. But here we are. President-elect Biden has secured enough electoral votes, and, well, Trump ain't having it. I don't really know what that means, or what's going to happen, or what's... I kind of feel like this is not really all that precedented in the history of this country. I could be wrong. If anyone wants to point me to a point in American history where something like this has happened in this particular way. I mean, obviously you had the 2000 election, which was a completely different type of story. I mean, altogether, it really was. I mean, in this case, we have a clear winner, but the other person is just screaming voter fraud, election fraud, and without any real basis. And now, of course, like if you talk to a Trump supporter, they're going to tell you, oh, well, here's some isolated stories and some anecdotes of like, oh, some dead person voted here, and there was some glitch in this machine over there, and stuff like that. None of this is evidence of like actual election fraud, or that the Democratic Party like purposefully tried to sabotage the election, which is the accusation being made, right? It's not the just that the fact that there are some people who vote fraudulently, which is true both for the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, or Republicans and Democrats. Like, this kind of stuff does happen, and no one's denying that, but none of that is evidence of mass election fraud. Right? I guess the one problem that you have here is like the Republican Party and Republicans just by and large can't tell the difference between voter fraud and election fraud. You can point to isolated examples, but that doesn't mean that there's enough examples out there that there's not enough examples that would sway the election. Not even close. Not even close. Anyway, Donald Trump is throwing a fit about it. And he's not conceding. I happen to think Trump is a bit of a maniac. I don't think he's going to concede. Now, that doesn't mean that Biden isn't going to become the president. I think more than likely, the most likely outcome of this is that There will be a peaceful transfer of power. The Biden administration will go into the White House. But my expectation, this is just my speculation about what the most likely outcome is. And that is Donald Trump, after losing all of his legal battles by challenging the election, he's not going to win. He's not going to be able to bring any sort of legal case to the Supreme Court. He's just not going to be able to do it because it's so patently absurd. What's going to happen is that Donald Trump will synthesize some sort of conspiratorial narrative that will, one, give him an excuse to transfer power peacefully, while two, maintaining his pride and maintaining his narrative that he actually won the election. Okay, I mean, just as an example, I think maybe one possibility is that he will leave the White House, but continue tweeting and continue giving press conferences or whatever, where he says, we're going to let the Biden administration go into occupy the White House, but we are going to continue to challenge this in the courts and stuff. And this is just to placate. This will just be to placate his base, basically, and to give them what they want, because he knows that his base doesn't want to see him concede, because he's goddamn motherfucking Donald Trump, and Donald Trump doesn't fucking lose, right? At least that's the fantasy that Republicans and conservatives like to give and put out into the world. I don't know, whatever. That's my expectation, because I feel like anything besides that, Trump's is not going to concede. At least if he does, it's going to be a really non-traditional concession in one way or another. Now he could just not concede and just refuse to leave the White House, and at that point, that's kind of when the Pentagon and the military might have to get involved. Or the Secret Service, I guess. And that all depends. And whether or not that works out really all depends on who in the military, who in the Pentagon, who in the Secret Service is loyal to Trump and who isn't. And this is why Trump is freaking out and trying to fire people and replace them with as many... replacing people across his administration with as many loyalists as possible. That's what he's doing right now. I don't think anyone should necessarily freak out right now, but there is a concern. We should be a little bit concerned about what Trump is going to try to do. He obviously is currently, as of right now, he is the most powerful person on the planet because he's president of the United States. He has a lot at his disposal when it comes to what he can do. What can he do with that power, and can he overturn the results of the election? And that's the question. Can he do that? And what I'm worried, because Trump has continuously throughout the past 4 years to subvert everyone's expectations, to prove that he can do more than what people think that he's capable of doing, because it's really scary. It is scary. Okay, Donald Trump is a fascist, and if you're on the left and you disagree with that, I don't know what to tell you. I know there are some leftists out there who are saying, no, Trump is not a fascist, he's just a buffoon or whatever, and it's like, fascists are always buffoons. Do you know anything about the history of fascism? They've always been buffoons. That's kind of part of, it's like a characteristic of fascism, right? That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to succeed at being a fascist or passing fascist laws or whatever, but I think ideologically, Trump is a fascist and has ideals of being a dictator, basically. And I think that if he had that ability, he would fucking go for it. And in some ways, if this gets really, really bad, it could be a test of America's institutions and America's systems. You know, things could break at any moment. We don't know. I think that's kind of what makes this scary, is that we don't know. Because Trump has proven us wrong over and over again. But he did lose the election. I think that's pretty clear. And for the Republicans to continue to deny that, for even Republicans in the Senate and in the House of Representatives to play along with this silly narrative that the Democrats like literally sabotaged the election in a coordinated effort to steal the election. I'm sorry, like these people are playing into a narrative that it's extremely, extremely dangerous. And it's really, even the idea, even the notion that Republicans are willing to entertain this as a possibility is terrifying. It's terrifying. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because they're fucking Republicans and they've always had like a fucking a fantasy of fucking being like taking full power over our government and taking control. And I really think that a lot of Republicans and I really do think that a lot of them want to have a dictator in office, and they like the idea of that. I don't really know. I guess we'll see what happens. I will admit that when Biden won, I celebrated, not because Biden won, but because Trump lost, and I thought the Republican tears, the conservative MAGA tears, I thought they tasted pretty good. Like, it was a pretty, yeah, let's sip that up. It's fun to see them freak out because they deserve it. I'm not excited about a Biden presidency. I happen to think that of all the candidates that the Democrats offered, Biden was one of the worst and one of the most right-wing. Probably the most right-wing besides John Delaney. Which is saying a lot. Like, I fully believe that Biden is not on the left. He's not a leftist. I don't even think Biden is, like, all that liberal. I mean, he's neoliberal, but, like, he's not a progressive. He doesn't, like, whatever kind of concessions he gives to progressives is just for political gain for the most part. I don't believe that Biden himself is any kind of progressive. He's a neoliberal, pro-capitalist, centrist, right-wing politician. He's not left-wing. Biden is a right-wing politician by any metric. If you were to compare our candidates to any other political system across the rest of the developed world, Biden is right-wing. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. The only good I expect to come from this is we don't have fascism, and we might have a president who is at least slightly, and I mean like slightly sympathetic to progressive causes, but not to left causes, mind you. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, comrades, thanks for watching. Stay rad. Subscribe if you like what you hear. Yeah. Catch me on Twitter. All that good stuff. Catch you next time.